Welcome everybody to Judge's Corner. Um, I've kind of picked out a theme this month, even though I said I wasn't going to do a theme, because we've had a lot of things going on. Like we had Jerry Guionis came and talked about some, shoot how to shoot people, how to pose. He did a lot of posing stuff at the meeting. And then I know right after that he did a weekend of classes. So I kind of went over there to support. So I did a Saturday morning and then I did a Sunday afternoon. And both day Saturday I saw 10 Camera Club people there. And then on Sunday there was seven Camera Club people there. So I know they were really excited that we gave them that much, attention back for him coming out and seeing us. So and actually having he did two classes a day, morning, afternoon, Saturday, morning and afternoon, Sunday. So I don't know how many people from there went over, but I know we had good attendance. And then also in the outside competition, listening to the judges, Dave McGuffey teaches some of the photo classes and how to manage your photo and how to, get on a automatic mode and using manual and more and more and more. But he was going to do the program Friday. He is now canceled. I think e-notice went out, or maybe it hasn't yet. But anyway, he is canceled for this Friday. So Harry Gruman's going to do a program for us on Friday. But back to Dave McGuffey, I noticed how he actually talked a lot about lighting when he was judging everybody's pictures. He talked a lot about composition, and then he was really strict on some portrait people, even photojournalism images about the people being cut off or cropped in bad places, or some of the um, poses weren't good. So that's kind of why I went ahead and went with kind of a themed idea tonight for the judge's corner. So let me share screen.
This is the Mark 7 pressure suit, specifically designed to reduce decompression time after diving profound depths. It does this by means of an
Uh, there we go. Okay, so first one I want to bring up is this is a picture from WPPI. This is one of their advertising pictures. Now, Daphne shoots this girl a lot. Daphne really likes her. And I remember going to this particular booth this day at the Sony booth, and I'm like, let's go somewhere else because the lighting or whatever here is just horrible. Oddly enough, I'm sure this is one of the WPPI photographers, and they didn't give me permission to talk about it. But since this is a public picture anyway, I'm going to talk about it because I think this is horrible. I like all the people around it and it kind of leads into her. And I don't think her pose is bad. I think just whoever set up the lighting is terrible. This one I zoomed in a little bit because I mean, that's not good at all. So, and I've talked to a couple other people about it, and they all feel the same way. So even things
Okay.
we're putting into competition, were you going to say something? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, Jerome, can you share full screen? We're not being able to see it.
Oh, it's not sharing?
I'm not seeing the full screen. I'm seeing the whole palette on your desktop.
You see it?
I just see one little picture way up in the corner.
We just see the gallery.
Yeah.
Okay.
You hit that share button there.
Well, I think I'm sharing, but I'm going to unshare and redo it again. Screen sharing has stopped. Yeah, so, okay. So let's share again. So I closed everything. So now let's see if this will go back. Maybe because I had it open already. So Okay, did that open? Are you seeing that bigger now,
Yeah,
Mary?
thank you.
Yes.
Okay, okay, cool. So this is what I was talking about a minute ago. I kind of like the layout of the picture. I just don't like the lighting. And I remember this. This is how Sony set up their lighting for that whole weekend at WPPI. What they did this year was a lot better than what they did last year. But this is, for whatever reason, this was their advertisement for the WPPI this year. I guess see where to close that one. And this is where I zoomed in and I was talking about it because the lighting is really bad on her face. I mean, the nose is lit, then you have a shadow through her eye, and then you have her hand is kind of bright, but her finger, shadows are across her face, and the side lighting is kind of a little bit too far to the side instead of back a little bit more, making it more of a rim lighting. And that's again just my opinion on lighting, especially for a people thing. This one I didn't set up. Somebody asked for a martini. This was at Jerry Gionis's setup. So he set up this lighting, a little bit more of a Rembrandt lighting. I didn't edit it. So you can see when you have any lighting on the side, you're going to see, texture on the skin or flaws in the skin, which is good though. You just have to soften the skin a little bit. So a lot of portraits take a little bit more editing unless you have something that's more I'm going to go to this guy. Lighting's over the top. Is this a portrait? No, I think this was entered in people category and it scored really well in people category, but it's still kind of a portrait. It's kind of a little bit of an environmental portrait. Now, do I suggest that you put this into portraiture category in our competition? Probably not, because it won't do as well. But I think it did really good as a people picture. Here's another one from Jerry Gionis's. Now I kind of made this a little bit more mine because I took the shadow off of one picture and then a different pose from a different picture. So I kind of made up my mind by doing that. But technically everybody was shooting the same picture, which brings up, we've kind of gone back and forth on let's see, here's another one from Jerry Gionis. So we've gone back and forth of, portraiture is supposed to be under the control of the lighting and posing by the photographer. But I mean, I think if we don't allow some of these pictures, then, it's going to be hard. Now, at this particular thing, Jerry was encouraging everybody to pose, do changes, have the models do what you want. I had the ability, I changed the lighting for this one. He had an assistant on each lighting set that we could direct. So not only was I directing the model, but I was directing the assistant with the lighting, saying, hey, can we do a red light behind her, a blue light in front of her? And these are some of the pictures that came out of that. I don't have them all in order, so I'm bouncing around. They had a little wedding set up. He was talking, she was giggling, so I just thought that was kind of a fun picture, front lighting on her. But this, again, I didn't edit these. So this being front lighting on her face, it makes it a little bit softer. You don't see as much texture, where on this one, it's kind of a little bit more of a side lighting and you see more texture. So your direction of light's gonna, manage a lot. And I've always talked about when I'm doing people stuff, I kind of like to overexpose, especially female models, because it softens the skin. Posing with hands. We almost always want to see the hands if they're going to be somewhere in the picture. So having the side of her hands is always better than having just a flat back part of the hand. This was at Frank and Gary's event, Ella out by the pool. So again, having the hand to the side is good for posing. This isn't great lighting. We were in the sun. We were practicing with some reflectors and stuff during this session with Gary and Frank, and I think they did a good event. I know a lot of people there. We were kind of kind of learning. This was sent to me, ah, I think last year when we did this. So, and I talked about the lighting being really hard with these lines here and kind of creating that funny shadow under the eye is the hardest part. And I think just by turning her a little bit, it would have changed the lighting a lot. I'm trying to see if, so here's one. Again, this one was sent before, but here, where this hand is cut off, it looks funny because you just see, almost a stumpified hand, which looks kind of funny. Lighting and stuff is nice on this. The hair is nice. Cropping here is good. I think if this one was cropped a little bit more, so we got this arm out of here and just gone to right to the edge of the hair, it would have helped a little bit because right now this kind of looks like a linebacker kind of shoulder, and over here this one looks nice. And the only reason is because this shoulder here is closer to the camera by the way she's turning, so it looks a little bit bigger than the other side. But that was one thing cut off. There was a couple portraitures that had the hands cut off, and Dave McGuffey didn't like that. He kicked them out right away. He's like, I don't even want to look at it. Doesn't do anything for me. Here's another one. Dave McGuffey didn't like this. There was another one that had the hand cut off like that. So same thing. You kind of got a funny looking hand here and a funny looking hand here. So let's go back to that one, Jerry Guionis. And he actually posed this wedding couple. I was just shooting over somebody's shoulders, and I really kind of liked that giggle. So he likes showing the hands so they're not cut off. Now, this is kind of a bad one where we're not supposed to see the flat part of the hand because it competes with the whole face. So I'm going to go back to the Ella one again where, the hand's a little bit nicer. It doesn't compete with her face as much because it looks smaller by just showing the side of the hand instead of having her hand turn, flat against the camera. Anybody want to speak up? Any comments or questions before I keep going on? This one again, nice hands. You can see the hand down here. Now the hand's in shadow, but it's not cut off, so you can still kind of see it.
And again, you've got the white spot on her nose.
Yeah, like I said, I did not edit these, so yeah, she was getting a little shiny, and everybody was asking my opinion, and I was helping other camera club members, and then she's like, "How's everything going?" And I said, "Well, if you had a chance, I would just go touch up your makeup because you're kind of getting shiny." And she got all offended at me, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm I'm not gonna talk no more."
As you were setting these up, Jerome, were other participants able then to shoot the same shot
Yes.
that you did? Okay.
Yes. This was all a shared event. So what we were doing is one person, like say Jerome goes to the front of the line and he's doing a couple poses, he's asking to move the lighting a little bit, and the other people around me are still shooting. They get to shoot pictures. But then somebody else will go to the front and then they got to direct a little bit and shoot their pictures, and everybody else was kind of shooting a little bit. So I'll give you an example of I was way off to the side, and I know nobody else got this particular shot right here because everybody was in front. So they saw both these people as two silhouettes against the window. But I walked all the way over behind the groom here and shot her and got a little bit more window light on her face. So that was a little bit different than, what a lot of other people were doing. So I'm bringing that up because I'm saying, you can still try and make something a little bit of yourself. Now, shooting at events, again, maybe do you put it in people or unclassified and not put it in portraiture because you didn't do all the setup? Again, I think it's kind of hard. Now, there was, about 20 years ago, there was Nature's Best had a competition, and it was like for $25,000. And I remember the guy that won, there was a fox, and it was, or maybe it was a wolf or a fox, and it's jumping over a fence in a field. And he won the $25,000. And then there was like 7 people sent their images in and said and complained because they said, "Hey, I was at the same event," and they sent a picture that was like almost exactly like his, and then it multiplied, and several people sent it in, and they actually took his money away. So, but it did say in the rules that you cannot have images from, any workshop or group event. And there's some competitions that you enter and they say the same thing. And we don't technically specify that. So I guess if we wanted to get that strict, we'd have to put it in the rules. Um, Ella was that one at the pool. I just did a couple pictures of her to talk about posing. So I was letting her pose, and this hand looks really funny. Here, a little bit better. See the side of the hand and the fingers. You want to try not to break the wrists when you're posing models or people in general. It doesn't have to be a model. This is how she started out. And for her, you have to remember, for her, it feels really comfortable. It doesn't feel awkward to her. So you have to be able to, just direct and fix just a couple of things. You know, this one again, it feels really good to her. It feels kind of sexy or, feels like a good pose. But when her hand goes behind her back, then I end up with this stumpy looking thing again. So out of these 4 pictures, this is where we end up with having a good pose. And again, none of these are edited or anything. So I was just trying to grab a couple so I could talk about posing a little bit, because these are things that Dave McGuffey, like, he saw some stuff like this and he kicked it right out. This was not in competition, this outside competition, but this was in a monthly competition in Judge's Corner. I think I pulled this out of 2022. But Dave McGuffey saw this and he's like, it really looks funny when you cut people's feet off or their hands off. So he again kicked this out. Not this particular one. There was another one very similar that got kicked out. So I'm just kind of talking about it just to give everybody ideas. Any questions? Because I might move on. Well, this is another one that was brought in a little bit, back a little bit. Again, portraiture. And Ron, you were talking about the shininess. I think this is just highlights because, we all have sometimes oily skin, or if we start to sweat or get nervous, we get a little, oil in our skin. And then this, you can see the light is over on the side, you can see in her eyes. And you see the shadow. So it's kind of showing the texture of the skin along with that little specular highlight, kind of like you talked about on my nose right here. Same kind of thing. We want those highlights on the lips and we want those catch lights in the eyes. We just don't always want, too much specular on the skin, at least for competition. If it's just a quickie picture for posting, it's not going to matter too much.
So Jerome, go back to the sports photo, the football
Yes.
players.
Do you remember this one? Because you were there with judging as well. I know you weren't standing in the front.
Yeah, right. But the thing that I was going to ask is how would you crop this to be
Well,
able to be able to put this in competition in a way that you don't see all of these parts of legs and arms cut off? How would you do that? Because you don't have control when there's sports action, right? It's so fast.
correct.
So how do you
And
would you
and
crop in really tight where you just see the heads and the helmet and the football and leave all the external parts out of it?
when I shoot sports, let's talk about NASCAR for a minute. When I would shoot NASCAR, I would let's say Vegas, because Vegas would have a truck race, then they have the Xfinity, and then they have the Cup race, which is the champion, the big leaguers. And for that 3-day weekend, I would shoot, close to 10,000 images. So this would not be one of my picks out of that 10,000 if I had these problems. I would pick something else. Football is really hard because most of the time they're either way down here and they're really small, or they're all the way on this end and they're right in your face.
Right.
So,
Right.
unless you're carrying 3 cameras with 3 different lenses, it's very difficult to shoot. But but I know this maker has some outstanding stuff. I just don't think this is one of his best ones to enter because I probably would have entered this with these feet and this guy back here anyway, you know. And with football, you're only allowed to stand in certain places. You can't just walk around the field wherever you want to go. Most of the sidelines you can't be. So and kind of the same thing with NASCAR. I always had restrictions where I couldn't be and places where I could be, and then I'd have to share a window at turn 4 or something with 2 other companies, and we would rotate. So it's tough, and not everything that we all shoot. I mean, I think you and Ken are traveling or something right now, and not everything you guys shoot out there is all going to be, you know, competition valued images. There's some of them are just, they might be good, they might be fun, they might be what you like, but it's not always going to be a competition image. So could this one be cropped? Maybe if it cropped right above the helmet, like you just said, and maybe here in the thighs, which would be kind of good for people, but then maybe it's getting too tight. I don't know. That's probably going to be a judge's, you know, personality check, whether they like it or not.
So when you look at competitions and you look at images, especially sports photography, and one of the things I've been doing lately is photographing my granddaughter's jujitsu competitions.
Yes.
And one of the things that I find I try to do is have that face-to-face interaction. But the thing is that they're so fast and so quick that they look like little balls and not, you can't see one face or the other. Um, so how do you and you're limited to where you can stand and how low you can
Correct.
get and that kind of thing, right?
Right.
So, trying to think of this about future entrance of any of these images in competition, how do you improve upon that so that image can be entered in a competition?
I'm gonna pull something. Okay, right here. So you had, hundreds of sports photographers every year shooting boxing. And of Muhammad Ali, this is one of the most, this is the highest rated image, the highest printed image, probably the image that made the most money out of all boxing pictures. I mean, there's maybe a couple with Sugar Ray Leonard, but like I don't think George Foreman has anything, and he was a boxer longer than all these guys, George Foreman. But this here is one of the most famous pictures. And there's not even any action. He's laying on the ground. It's the end of the fight. So you just have to be able to, even with the kids, I know jujitsu is more like wrestling than it is really like any type of karate. And you just have to find it, just shoot, 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 and you have to find that one that gives you, the kind of emotion or feeling that you can portray to the judges to get the better scores. And again, it's your I'm sorry, you said your granddaughter?
Yes.
Yeah, so the hard part about that is, it's like me shooting my son. Everything I shoot, I think is a good image. I think, oh my God, this is the best image.
Yeah.
But I put pictures in competition that just get beat up, and I'm like, oh, well, you know, you just
Yeah.
you have to take that with a grain of salt and
Yeah.
be able to find something better. because I've gotten good images with Josh as well.
Thanks.
Okay. I hope that helps.
Yes.
All right. Back to, did anybody else have anything while we're there?
Hey, Jerome, I had a question.
Yes.
In last month's electronic competition, there was a portrait. I don't remember who submitted or what category it was in, but it was either severely overprocessed or it was an AI image.
And it was last month in competition.
Yeah, it was the woman just had, I think, Jamaica or whatever, that was kind of partially submerged in the water.
Oh, that was actually my image.
Oh,
Um,
really? Okay.
yeah, hold on. I can pull that up. I wasn't judging it. That's why I couldn't remember. Um, let's see. What was last month? March?
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah.
So
It,
the only thing that is edited on her is her skin. Everything else is original. This is what the sky looked like. This is what the reflection in the water looked like.
yeah.
So it's literally just her skin that is, um, it's really kind of over edited to make her really soft.
Yeah, because it's really her face that I noticed that like
Yeah.
way the lighting was looking on the water and the sunset was behind her, but the lighting on her face and everything just,
Well, I have a,
and there's no catch lights.
yeah, well, there should be. I have a tripod right in front of her and I'm standing in the water with her and
Okay.
the tripod's in the sand.
Yeah,
And I'm holding the tripod in my arm while I have my hand, right around the camera.
sure.
But yeah, so you can see these little
Uh,
catch lights here is it's just one strobe straight into her face, and you see
Senator.
the little shadow under her nose.
Okay. Yeah, I see. I
So
wasn't able to zoom in on it or anything like
yeah,
that. So,
I know. And you can actually see a little bit of the water drops on her face, on her nose, on
yeah.
her chest. But yeah, no, I did this. This is with Portrait Pro that I edited the skin. So, and it did. I do feel that it's a little bit over processed, and I made her a little bit warmer, um, to make her kind of match the background a little bit more and stand out because the sky, the clouds and the water are a little bit bluer except the sunset behind her. So,
Sure.
but yeah, so one single strobe on her.
Okay.
And this is what the background looked like, and this is what the reflections look like. I just processed her skin.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I thought it was a beautiful shot. I just, to me, it was like I was looking at it and I was like, is this real?
Yeah. No, and it does. It almost looks, I mean, because you get a lot of stuff like this on Instagram now and Facebook that is AI girls, and people are making money with it somehow.
Yeah.
Jerome, was this shot at a high ISO in order for it looks like something that was done at dusk or
Yeah.
early morning, but I
Yeah,
was
this is sunset. The sun is setting, and I think the sun just went down and it was kind of light in the sky behind her.
uh
And I'm going to say it was only at about 400. It might have been 800 because
okay.
I have a strobe. So I had a 400-watt strobe. So
Okay.
she's not, yeah, it's not that grainy
Okay.
or that high ISO. Just
It looks like you also did the edging of the skin and at least the right side of her hair.
um no, I mean I probably took out some of the flyaways, but she just went in the water backwards and then came up. So that's why her hair is wet, and that's why it kind of looks like it's a little bit blue reflecting from the sky. But yeah, I didn't do a lot. Maybe a little bit of hair off these edges, but that was it.
Jerome,
Yes.
on another portrait that we did on a judge's corner a while back, you were critical about having the subject bisected by the horizon. And yet here we are. Why does it work here and not on that other one?
So usually what I complain is when the horizon goes through their neck or through their head.
Okay.
So I say you need to be shoulders or below. And again, that's probably a little bit of my preference. Same thing with a window frame. Some photographers will shoot a window frame so it goes around them. They won't ever let the window frame, cut into their head sideways or just the head. If the window frame goes here and into the body, they're okay with it. But some people, James Schmelzer used to shoot and he wanted the frame to cut into their head. So, even when Jerry Metellus was talking about that, or I'm sorry, not Jerry Metellus, different guy, Jerry Gionis was talking about it. Um, at our club, he was talking about door frames because he shot all those pictures that he showed us in his house, and he was talking about the door frames and the window frames not cutting into people. I don't know if you were at his program when he did that there. And I don't think I have anything. Closest thing I'm going to have is probably that wedding picture. So some people will complain about that, because this goes straight into the side of her head. Now here, I guess we're off a little bit. It's not straight in the middle, but I do know I've heard judges within the club talk about maybe a tree coming out of somebody's head or a sign or a light post. So we don't want that to happen. Um, when I'm talking about the horizon cutting their head off or going through their head, it's like this would be kind of bad. I'm not saying this particular image, I'm talking about the horizon outside. But this one, you have a window frame and the window panes, so it's kind of hard to get around that, and you have to put yourself in kind of a good spot so it doesn't look too bad. It's kind of like having, a really nice butterfly or a bird, and then you have a branch that goes kind of like right through their body or right across their beak or something like that. And it's just something that's distracting.
I guess something like this in the photo you have displayed with the window there, it looks like you could have probably, the curtains are pretty sheer. You probably could have pulled the curtains to and masked the window frame that way as well.
So actually, this whole thing, the sheet, the drapes, the window frame is all a painted backdrop.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he has a light behind it because it's really thin where the window is. So you can put a light behind this particular backdrop and it looks
Mm.
like it's glowing through a little bit. But
Oh,
that's how
that's
this
cool.
that's how this was done.
Oh, that's very cool.
I think the backdrop is from a company called Baby Dreams. I haven't looked it up, but I remember him promoting it.
Yeah, I think they were at WPPI if I remember correct.
I saw Kate. Kate was there. Kate backdrops.
Oh, okay.
Trying to see, yeah, because you know, on this setup, I really didn't like this. I think this looks terrible. I mean, this is my picture, but I wouldn't put this in competition because I don't like this chair because in my mind, it looks like that chair's coming out of her head. I would have rather turned the chair way over to the side and that way it didn't affect her, it didn't cut into her body or her head at all. I don't think the other ones don't have anything. This did have a light stand behind her and I took that out. So this one is okay because it's just kind of got the watery waves of the pool. Here we go. This was entered into judges competition a while ago, but see how these trees are bad? So I think if you would have moved her right over here, so we had this for the background, or moved her back away from it, and at least this is a little bit more diffused because the depth of field is longer. But having these right here, a lot of judges will knock you down for that. So this one, these don't bother me going down the body. It's just the ones in the head. Did that kind of help her answer? Was that Jim that asked that question in the beginning? I didn't see who.
That was me, Mike Chapman.
Oh, Mike. Yeah.
Yes, and it helped. Thank you.
Okay. Um, this one was submitted. Now, I think this is a people category kind of portrait picture. Not really a portrait, just a people category. Because it shows action. I don't think this is a great picture, and I don't think the maker's on here, but that wouldn't stop me from saying it. But I don't think it's a good picture because the lighting's not really good, and you have no control over that. There's nothing you can control. I think having a longer lens or a wider aperture would maybe give you a little bit more depth of field because I think these faces, take my eye away from it, and also these hands from, take away from her head, and they also kind of cut into her head. Now, this is kind of a great picture because all the impact is, hey, that's Hillary Clinton. Everybody knows who that is. So that's exciting. That's way more exciting than shooting a picture of me or Ed Stiglitz, the president of the Camera Club, right? So this does have an element of impact that is going to be a lot greater than a lot of other people that you will put in here in the same instance. Overall, do I think it's really good for competition? Not really. You know, Maybe if it's in a photojournalism competition, not so much Nevada Camera Club. I'm just speaking in general, a photojournalism competition. It might win because it is a picture of Hillary Clinton, versus whatever else is put in there. But then again, when we judge, so even going back to what Doreen was asking on that other one, our rules of judging photojournalism is the story value is supposed to score higher than the technical qualities. Now, any competition, you got to have good technical qualities. This one looks, I've this should be a little bit redder, I think. I think this needs a little bit more contrast. I think the grass looks good. I think the whites are a little bit gray. I think this red could be a little bit brighter. So is that, more of a technical aspect, or is it just a little bit underexposed? You know, that's kind of what the judge's view or what the maker feels he wants to put in, where this one has a little bit more contrast. Her purple jacket really pops. Her hair looks true to color. Her skin looks really true to color. Even the turquoise bracelet she has on, seems to be real good color. So I think this one has a little bit more technical quality than the other one. So if these two were in the same, competition under judges or under photojournalism, I might be more apt to pick this one just because I think they're both good stories. I think they both tell a story. Photojournalism wise, I think they would score high in that part of it. But then on the technical aspect, I might choose this one over the other one for placement. Cool. Any comments on that? This was submitted, so I was going to go ahead and talk about it. I'm going to click over real quick. I just wanted to see. Okay. Go back to this. This one was submitted, and I remember this being in competition. I think I even judged this a few months ago in competition. I wasn't crazy about how this was cut out and everything being so bright and reflective. I think the fact that this is kind of grayed out, because I'm sure this is black, but I think making it kind of grayed out is the only way to put it on this black background. But I want to show you another image, and we're just talking about images, so I'm not, really scoring things against each other, but this was submitted a while back. And I kind of like this a little bit more because this was photographed on this background. And you can tell because you've got some shadows, you got, some a little bit more depth. Even the light is still kind of flat from the front and a little bit from the top to create these shadows under there. And this, again, I think this is black, but it's still a little bit grayed out. I just think the overall look is a little bit better than this one that I feel the maker cut out and put this black background in there. Now, aesthetically, I think this looks better, at the angle it's at, because you've got, at least a little bit more interest with the angles versus the other one that's just a straight profile image of the train. Cool. Anybody have any questions or anything else you want to talk about, or? I was going to keep it kind of short tonight. Anyone? Anyone?
No, we just want to say thank you and thank you for being up as late as what you are in Tennessee. So,
Well, that's kind of why I made it a little bit late because well, oddly enough, technically I was supposed to be here really early this morning, but I got to McCarran Airport at 11:30 last night and they canceled my whole flight and moved me to 6 a.m. So I went back home and slept for a few hours and then came back to the airport at 4 a.m. for that flight. And then I got to Atlanta and we were late to Atlanta. So then I missed my flight from Atlanta to Tennessee. So I had to wait another hour to get on another flight. So it's been, well, it wasn't a horrible day. It was just, things happen and they all
long.
happen. They all happened today, yeah. So I'm glad I scheduled it, at a later time, which is kind of what I was anticipating anyway. So it worked out. So very cool. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for coming,
Thank you.
and
Thank you,
we will
Jerome.
have
Thank you, Jerome.
yeah,
Thanks,
we'll have
Jerome.
another one next month. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank
Good
you,
night,
Bye-bye.
Jerome.
Jerome.
Thank you.
Good night.